All right, guys, we're back again with another tutorial here. So this is this would be the fourth tutorial, part of our little mini series where we try to get you guys past winter or at least past autumn, so you guys can start winter out with the proper amount of resources. So before we left off, we were talking about how amazing meatballs were. So we're going to go ahead and begin our tutorial with a little bit of a snack. As I mentioned before, try to keep a few things in your inventory, but do not overwhelm your inventory. So let's go ahead and we'll empty out our inventory from the things that we don't need. Purple gems do not come in handy right away. Silk will come in handy. However, right now we do not need it. Now you might look at your pickaxe and go, this one has 1% or 3% or 1 use left in it. Why are we not using the pickaxe until it's finished? And we're going to go ahead and show you why. So a pickaxe is extremely useful until you get yourself a golden pickaxe. But do not throw away your old ones, and we'll show you why right now. On the ground, you're going to notice that there's already a thermal stone made, but let's go ahead and make ourselves another one. In our backpack, we did previously make ourselves a thermal stone, but I want to show you guys once again, for the people that I might not have mentioned about a low percentage pickaxe, to make another one just in case. And I'm going to explain why having multiple pickaxes in your base is a good idea. So scrolling down on your survival tab, you're going to see thermal stone is made with 1 pickaxe, 10 rocks, and 3 flint. And as I mentioned before, this is why keeping your low pickaxes useful on the ground instead of using them to the last drop is a great idea. So let's go ahead and we're going to make one more, and this one we're going to keep inside the fridge. Now you might ask yourself, why are we keeping a thermal stone inside the fridge if it's going to be winter time? And it's because having a thermal stone in the fridge is always the best idea. That way you have an extra one when summertime rolls around. It's already cooled off. As soon as summer hits, you can take that out of the fridge, and it's basically having a cool thermal stone that'll get you walking around summertime as if there's nothing to worry about. But having an extra thermal stone next to the fire is also a great idea. So because it is going to wintertime, we're going to keep this one next to the fire. And eventually we'll have it next to our furnace, but we'll talk about that when the time comes. So starting out, get rid of any extra things that you don't need. Always keep a little bit of grass, a little bit of twigs, a little bit of flint, and a little bit of rocks on you. And get rid of anything else that you don't need. Trinkets are something that we can show later on. Keeping a few gears on you is only useful if you plan on using them on the go, which we're not going to, so we can get rid of those. The pan flute is a great thing to keep in your backpack as well too. And niter we don't need as of right now until summer starts either. So our backpack has 5 spots, but generally I like to keep gold in there, a little bit of rocks, a pan flute, and you can keep your extra torch on you at all times if need be, and get rid of, once again, if you have gold in your backpack, it's time to make the rest of our golden tools. So for chopping, luxury axe, and of course for digging, your your regal shovel, which will make sure that whenever you're picking up stuff, you're not wasting plenty of resources making new shovels. So as the night shows up, we're going to wander around, and it's a great time to start doing so. And you're going to want to start with step 2 of gathering resources, beginning with, instead of picking grass, so instead of gathering them and not picking up the tufts, you're now going to take your golden shovel that has 100 uses. And I would suggest using this instead of you can use a regular shovel if you absolutely have to, but I would suggest using the golden tool for digging this stuff up rather than wasting your flint. And you're going to go around, and it's now time to start collecting twigs and grass. And this is something that I would make sure that, for example, if you walk over and you have the show me mod enabled and you scroll over a grass tuft that says in 1.4 days, this will be coming back. So which that means is in 1.3 days, and you have 9 days left of autumn, this will return and regrow. So I do not suggest as of right now digging this tuft up, because in 1 day it's going to bring you back grass. So instead, pick the grass that is already fully grown. So for example, we're going to go and start picking these up. Now, if you want to avoid picking them up, and once again, I am using the Action Cube Reborn, and as soon as it's dug up, you're going to have to press spacebar. If you do not want to do this, pressing the F4 key will enable auto collect. Now, auto collect is a function where as soon as you dig an item up, your character will automatically pick up what is ever on the ground after digging up said item. So it's a useful thing to have, and it will keep you, from having to hold spacebar right after going through the process of digging them up. So once again, Action Cube Reborn, hold shift down, right click. If you're not using Action Cube Reborn, you can continue to automatically pick them up yourself. But for the sake of somewhat speeding up, gathering resources, it's always a great tool to have. So I'm not going to gather too many of these, but I just wanted to kind of demonstrate that it's always good to go through the process of gathering this. But I'm also going to promote gathering berry bushes. Now, berry bushes are a useful thing to have in your base at all times, because at any point in time during springtime, during autumn, and during summer, it's going to be a great source of filler. Now, obviously, in winter, you're not going to have any of these growing, but in winter, there's a much better resource to use as filler, and that is ice. So think of berries as your all-around food source, except for when it comes to winter. Start to rely on ice more because it's renewable. There's plenty of it, and you're not going to have to worry about it running out because you can get more and more and more as you travel around in wintertime. So we're going to go and drop a bunch of this stuff off, and then we're going to show you the biomes that we mentioned before. So remember to keep your shovel with you, but continue to drop off these resources back at your base. Having these resources right now is a good way of getting used to preparing your base for wintertime, for even summer, and so forth. So make sure that you prepare yourself a few meatballs. We already have a meatball prepared for us now. I would suggest that when you're going on long expeditions, make sure that you're making yourself one meatball. Once again, 3 fillers, 1 meat of any kind, and you can go through the process of making yourself a meatball to have on the go. The beautiful thing about the Show Me mod is you're able to see how long it takes for a meatball or anything that you're cooking inside the crock pot to finish, and it's very helpful to know, okay, I have 45 seconds around my base to do stuff before things finish cooking. So we're going to take that and we're going to continue to wander over to the Dragonfly Desert. In our map, which is a very rare occasion, we have the Oasis connected to the Dragonfly Desert. Now, this is a good thing, but also could be a bad thing, because in a map like what we have here, I like to call this kind of like a line map. Most of the maps that I prefer on Don't Starve Together are more of like a circle style, or sometimes you have where they kind of branch off from each other. So this is kind of an awkward map to stick with, but it really varies depending on the size of your map and a few other things as well too. So traveling over, I always try to remember that staying on the roads is your fastest way of traveling and Don't Starve Together. Wandering off, you're going to notice that your character is going to walk a little bit slower. Not a lot slower, but it's always best to stay on the roads if you can. I would also suggest, too, when you have some time, if you're not gathering wood, perhaps somebody else on the server can. Gathering a ton of wood is always a great thing to have. You're going to always need lots of wood, but be careful, because gathering too much wood can cause issues, and we'll go through that in a second. So after we do that, I'll kind of go over a few other things when it comes to gathering resources, on what to be cautious about. But gathering wood is the only thing in this game that will cause an item, or that will cause a creature to attack you. So what I mean by that is the more wood you gather, the more naughtiness you gain for kind of chopping wood. And I like to call it like the tree guard naughtiness. So when you chop a tree, you basically trigger the tree guards, or the gods of the trees to kind of look at you the wrong way. And the more trees you chop, the higher chance you have of a tree guard spawning. So ways to combat that, which I'll show you in a few minutes, is continuously planting pine cones back into the ground. So I'm not going to do it in the swamp, because there's quite a few things in the swamp that can attack you, whether it's mosquitoes, whether it's tentacles, whether it's worms, and always be careful in the swamps, because at any moment you can get attacked out of nowhere. So definitely not the best place to stop. So as we approach, you can see that we are now at the Oasis, and you can tell that it's the Oasis because you have the Oasis pool, which is currently not active, but we won't talk too much about that until it gets to summertime. At the Oasis, you will always have this boon. If you don't have this boon, or this dead body with items around it, you're probably might have a faulty world, or it's possible that there could be another reason behind it. Maybe a mod is causing it not to spawn in. But generally, when you have this, you have a fishing rod, you have a straw hat, and you also have a straw roll. And as I mentioned before, you can hear the hounds are about to show up. So we got our first hounds on day 13. Now, our friends are not near us. Our friends are out wandering, gathering resources, but we are prepared. We have our one spear, we have our helmet, and we have our extra log suit. So when a hound is attacking you, you have two options. You can wait. You can wait and try to kite the hounds, but when there's plenty of hounds that are around you and you have nowhere to go and you have nothing to do, you can always resort to tanking. I myself always love tanking. It's one of the things that I do a lot in Don't Starve Together, but a lot of people prefer that you don't do that so you can conserve resources and make sure that your character does not take a lot of damage. When it comes to hounds, if you don't want to attack them by yourself and you want people to help you, you can pretty much outrun hounds by running in circles as long as you don't fully stop. If you're playing a character known as Wolfgang, this will be the only character that will cause your character to stop running halfway through when he gets hungry. But the longer you wait at dusk, the closer you get to darkness. So that is why having our miner hat and our log suit is going to help us out a ton. So if there were one hound here, we could easily kite that hound without having to take any damage. And basically the way it works is hounds will try to chomp at you as soon as they get close, so you can let them chomp and run away and hope that you're going to avoid the hit. But for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to turn on my miner hat, and I'm going to equip my log suit, and I'm going to tank. This is something that you want to be kind of like your last resort. It's always good to get into the habit of kiting. And now that we have one hound, you can see how that is being done. So the single hound basically approaches you, and you can do where the hound is going to it's continuously barking here. But anyways, when it goes through the process of biting, you could basically just run away from it, and that'll trigger it to bite again, hit, bite again, hit, bite again, and then you can usually get a double hit in there as well too. And that's how you tackle one hound. Tackling multiple hounds is something that you might take a little bit of time to get used to, but the more you do it, the easier it'll be. And there you go. So now that is our first hound attack. And you might say to yourself, wow, that seems pretty easy if that's a hound attack. But as the days get longer and as the time gets more drawn out in your game, you're going to get more and more and more hounds. And the next time there's a hound attack, you're going to get double the amount of hounds that are going to be attacking. So the reason why having your armor and a log suit is so important early game is because you never know when the hound attack is going to happen. But generally, it's within like the first 14 to 15 days of the game, and you only usually get a handful of hounds. As you can see, we only got 3, and that's not very many to really worry about early game. So just make sure that you have your log suit or armor of sorts and a spear.
Thanks again for watching this video. See you in the next one.